I'm Barry Chandler from managerbar.com. Today we're going to look at some of the questions you need to ask yourself before purchasing a point of sale system for your bar or restaurant. Buying a point of sale system is an expensive process. Some systems run into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So we're going to look at 10 of the most important questions you need to ask yourself today before purchasing a point of sale system. The first question you need to ask is, how many units do you need for your bar or restaurant? How many point of sale systems do you need? If you already own a bar or restaurant and you already have systems in place and you want to upgrade them, then you'll already have an idea as to whether you have too many or not enough systems. Do you find that your servers, your bartenders are all crowding around one system on a busy night and it's slowing down service? Do you find that you've got a couple of point of sale systems that are sitting idle for weeks on end because they're never used? So if you've already got a business, you've already got an idea as to how many you need. If you're opening a bar or restaurant for the first time, you might have no idea how many systems you're going to need. Well, one of the ways to work out how many systems you need is to divide your service area into stations. A station is really one area where a server or a bartender is going to be responsible for the duration of their shift. That can be one section behind the bar, it can be a group of tables, it can be a corner of a restaurant, whatever it may be, that's a station. So, in the case of behind the bar, a station would normally consist of everything the bartender needs that night to perform his duties as a bartender. He would have immediate access in his own station to all the beers, all the liquor, the point of sale system, glassware, anything else that he needs to do his job and to serve the customer is available in his station. Ideally, stations aren't overlapping. You don't have bartenders crossing over each other, you don't have servers and bartenders clashing behind the bar trying to reach for a separate glass or a special glass. Stations are all set up the same way, so if you've got one long bar, you might have 3 stations behind it. In those 3 stations, you might have 3 bartenders altogether. So each one has got their own bank of taps, beer taps, they've got their own point of sale system. So that's one way to work out how many you need. On the floor then, for the servers, to work out how many you need, well, you might have one central system. You might have an appointed cashier. You might not let the servers handle cash. You might have them bring all their money and all the payments to a central cashier. If you want to work it that way, then one system would probably work for you. If it's a large restaurant or a large bar or floor area and you don't want staff wasting a lot of time going from the table all the way to a point of sale system that's far away, perhaps you need 2 or 3 systems on the floor. Look at this by dividing up the floor into a workable area. Find out if a server is responsible for 5 or 6 tables or 10 tables or 15 tables, how much out of their way is it to get to their point of sale system, and how quickly can they deliver service to the guest. The utmost importance is how fast can they do their job, how fast can they make you money. The longer they're away from a table, or the longer they're not making, the longer they have to spend getting to a point of sale system, well, the shorter time they have to be recommending, desserts, teas and coffees, upselling after-dinner drinks to your customers, which is what you want. Second thing to consider is the security level that you want in your point of sale system. Do you want staff to have access to all areas of your point of sale system? Do you want management to have access to only certain areas? Obviously you want it divided up into various layers. You want certain managers, perhaps your general manager, to have access to all areas of your system. You want supervisors to have maybe functions whereby they can void out a check where there's an error, or where they can perform a refund in the case of a complaint. You certainly don't want staff members being able to refund checks. You don't want staff members being able to, have access to management reports. So you've got to decide, based on the security level that you want in your system, is that available in the point of sale system that you're currently looking at. You've also got to work out, moving forward, if you're going to increase the size of your bar or restaurant, or you're going to have maybe multi-outlets, do you want your systems to link together, and you want to make sure that at each step of your expansion or moving forward, that you control the security levels of your system so that that's not compromised at any time. So that's very important to consider. Number 3 is the reporting requirements. If you already own a bar, you might be used to a certain way of retrieving your reports at the end of a night, the end of the week, the end of the month, and you might have all your systems developed around obtaining certain sets of figures at certain times. You may want to continue that process. You may want your new point of sale system to be able to give you the same set of reports that you're currently getting. So it's worth inquiring with the point of sale system company, can they provide you with the same reports you're currently getting? Show them examples of the reports you have right now. In most cases, in any new system, reports can be configured to the way you want them. So you tell the point of sale system company what you need, and they will design the report to do that for you. If you haven't opened a bar, or this is your first time opening a restaurant, you haven't had experience with this before, you need to talk to your accountant or your bookkeeper, and come up with a set of reports that are acceptable for both of you to be able to control all your costs, analyse your figures at the end of the night. The most basic reports you're going to need on a daily basis are, your cashing up reports at the end of a shift or the end of a night. You're going to work out how much cash is in the drawer. Does that balance with how much was put through the cash register, how much was put through the point of sale system? Does that tally with how much left the kitchen? Again, all your lines of defence. We spoke a little bit about that in our food cost control video, which you can go back and look at again. Number 4, something to consider is the use of peripheral devices like handhelds. In large restaurant chains and larger bars, owners and managers have identified that the longer customer is left, the longer a server is away from the customer, then the less interaction they have, the less they're selling, the more time they're walking. You're increasing labour costs because they're spending far more time doing their job than they need to. So they utilise handheld devices whereby the server can take the order at the table, they input the order beside the customer, that gets sent straight away to a kitchen printer or a kitchen point of sale system where the chefs can see immediately what's needed by that table. The server can control all that from the handheld device. They can control when to clear away when the main courses should be ready to go out. When the main courses are cleared, they can put in the order for dessert, and dessert can get sent straight through to the kitchen. This is something to consider. It's also good from a customer's point of view for security, because the handheld systems often have the capabilities for accepting credit card payments and debit card payments tableside. Customers are becoming more and more wary of seeing their credit and their debit card leave the table and go behind the scenes somewhere where they can't see what's going on. Identity theft is an increasing problem, so having a table-side system that can take payment, it's worth considering. Now, handheld device system can be very expensive, and it needs to be considered very carefully. So don't jump in without considering all the options on a handheld system very carefully. Another thing to consider with these devices is that in the event of these devices not working, do you have a backup plan? If there is a power outage, if there is a problem with wiring or a problem with networking, do you have a backup plan so that you can still provide the customer service and take payment without this technology?